This is Amud Yomi Gemara Shabbos Daf Chav Zayin Amud Aleph. We pick it up on the bottom of Chavav and Beis, in the middle of a lengthy discussion, figuring out at what stage begadim are mikabel tama. This began on the bottom of Chav Hey Amud Beis. Excuse me. This began on the bottom of Chavav Amud Aleph. With a brayso of Rav Shimon Elazar. Kol hayotzeh min ha'etz does not have a din of shalosh al shalosh, and therefore you can use it as schach chutz mi pishton. Abaya said that Rav Shmuel holds the same din. Now let's just realize Rav Shmuel said it did about semer and pishton. Shimon Elazar said it did only about pishton for the simple reason that Shimon Elazar is focusing on kol hayotzeh min ha'etz. So kol hayotzeh min ha'etz, anything that comes from a tree is only din in flax. Of course, semer, wool, does not come from a tree. Rava learned that the difference between Rav Shmuel and Rav Shimon Elazar is shleisha al shleisha b'shar begadim. Meaning, Rava learned that it is not the same din. That Rav Shimon Elazar and Rav Yishmael do not hold the same thing, and rather Rav Shimon Elazar holds that there's going to be tama at the level of 3 tfachim b'shar begadim, and Rav Yishmael holds there will not. On the bottom of Chavav and Beis, we pick it up with Rava picking back up the ball, 4 lines from the bottom. Ula Rava de Amar shleish al shleish b'shar begadim ikbein hayu. According to Rava, like we just explained, that once we have 3 tfachim by shar begadim, that is the difference between Shimon Elazar and Rabbi Yishmael. Shimon Elazar Islay. Shimon Elazar holds it's going to be tama b'shar begadim. L'tanat Yishmael Lesley. So says the Gemara. Shleish al shleisha b'shar begadim, 3 by 3 by other begadim. Minale. Where does Rav Shimon learn that out from? Rava said that the chilik between Rav Shimon Elazar and Rabbi Yishmael is shleisha al shleisha b'shar begadim. But says the Gemara, so where does Rav Shimon Elazar learn out that shleisha 3 tfachim by 3 tfachim will yes be mikabel tama? Rav Shimon Elazar only spoke about 3 fingers by 3 fingers chutz mei pishtan. But how does Rava know that once it's 3 by 3 tfachim will yes be makabel tama according to Rav Shimon Elazar? Says the Gemara on the top of Chav Zayin Amud Aleph. Nafka me oy ha-beged. Rava's going to say that Rav Shimon Elazar learns it out from oy ha-beged. Titanya beged ain't li ala beged shleish al shleish b'shar begadim minayin tamalamar oy ha-beged. And now it's going to start the proverbial Gemara ping pong, bouncing back and forth, Rava and Baya, figuring out beged, oya beged, where we learn out everything from. Abaye says the Gemara according to Abaye, Hi oy beged my ovidle, mi by the rabbi shol sholish, but samru pishtin. Baya says you need this for 3 fingers by Samar Bishtim. That what? Timitame bishratzim. There's going to be din of Toma Shratzim. So according to which is really what the pasuk is written by. Virava. What does Rava say? Kali Rachmana Gabi Negayim. The Torah says Shratzim. Excuse me. Kali Rachmana Gabi Negayim. The Torah writes it by Negayim Vuadin Lishratzim. And from there, we learn out that the same thing is by Shiratzim, V'Abaye. So Abaye, who says it's straight by Shiratzim, what does he do with his binyan av equating Shiratzim and Nigoyim? Ikal Mifrach says Abaye, it's not a direct comparison. You can't simply compare Shiratzim and Nigoyim and Tzaras. Why? Mala Nigoyim, Shekain Shasi V'Erev Mitamabem, as we've seen yesterday. That by Negayim, Shasi V'Erev, the din is that even the threads, the unprocessed threads, are mitame. Ve'edach. So what does Rava say? Says Rava, if you're going to tell me that Negayim are more chamer, lech l'rachamani gabi shratzim. The Torah should have written the din by shratzim, v'leisi Negayim minayu. Meaning, why does it write it by Negayim? Says Rava, if you Abaya learning that shratzim are more chamer, so write it by shratzim and then learn out Negayim from it. Why are we going and writing it by Negayim and learning out shratzim from it? Vedach, what does Abaya say back to that? Negayim shratzim lo yasu. Says Abaya, no, we would not be able to learn out Negayim from shratzim. Why? Because we'd be able to ask, mal is shratzim. When it comes to shratzim shkimitami bechadasha, there's another chomer by shratzim that the toma is given off even bechadasha, even when it's only the size of a lentil. Tzaras doesn't have such a din, so it comes out, which really brings out the depth of the sugya of the machlekes Abaye and Rava, is that shratzim, negayim, each have a chomer onto its own, which thereby disallows learning one from another. Therefore, Abaye learns that we need Oya Beged to teach us that Semer Pishtin, Shalish al Shalish, fingers is Mikabel Tomas Shratzim. Says the Gemara, Amar Abaye. Now, that we clarified how each one learns each other's drasha, Abaye continues, and Abaye says, 1 second. Abaye was of the opinion that Rav Shimon Elazar, Rabbi Yishmael said one thing. Continues Abaye, and Abaye says, now I taught Rabbi Yishmael. This din of Rabbi Yishmael, Mabich me'idik Tanat Yishmael, comes to exclude, comes to argue from a different Tanat Yishmael. The Tanat Rabbi Yishmael, Beged, and the other Beged, Semer Pishtin. It says by Shiratzim Beged, which only know Semer Pishtin, Wooler Flex. Menayin the Rabbis, Semer Gumalim, Semer Navim, Noitzim Shalizim, Vashirim, Vabalach, Lasrikim. How do we know to include Gemalim are camels, our Navim are rabbits, Izim are goats, Shirayim is regular silk, Vakalach, Lasrikim, other types of silk. Tamulaymar, Oy HaBeged, it comes to include all other types of materials. So says the Gemara. So Abaye is learning that Tanat Yishmael is mamish mikotze el kotze, two different worlds. One hand, Tanat Yishmael is learning that's only Temeru Pishtin. On the other hand, Tanat Yishmael is learning it's all begadim. But according to Rava, he says no. When the first Tanat Yishmael doesn't hold the din that is Toma by Shratzim, by all other begadim, is only Shalosh al Shalosh. But Shleish al Shleisha Isla, and this is really the Maila of Rava, is that Rava could split his hair. Because according to Rava, there was always a difference between 3 by 3 fingers and 3 by 3 tfachim. So says Rava, now we have Rabbi Yishmael on different ends. No, they don't have to be so far. Let's bridge that gap. Let's learn that the difference is between 3 by 3 fingers and 3 by 3 tfachim. That when there's going to be Toma by all begadim, it's 3 by 3 fingers. When there's only going to be, when it's only going to be Samuel Pishtin, is 3 by 3 fingers. Once it's large enough that it's 3 by 3 tfachim, then it will be Makabel all Toma. Says the Gemara, 1 second. Rava Amar. You, Rava, were the one that explained. Rava, it's true that you could split between 3 fingers and 3 tfachim, but you're the one that came along and said that according to Rabbi Yishmael, there's no tuma by 3 tfachim. So how can you now tell me that according to Rabbi Yishmael, 3 fingers is Temeru Pishtin, 3 tfachim is all begadim? Hadar be Rava Me'ahis, who says Rava ein hachanami. Rava was chayzer, and Rava now is explaining how he learns of Yishmael that again by 3 fingers that's what it's going to be Temeru Pishtin. Whereas when it comes to 3 tfachim, it's going to be any type of beged, that's when we include Samer Novim and all the other types of fabrics. V'iba Yisema says more another teretz, ha Rav Papa Amra. We could say that the second din of Tanuri Shmuel is Rav Papa, it's not Rava. Rav Papa Amar, Af Kol Asuye Klayim. That when he said Af Kol, it's coming to Asuye Klayim, it's talking about Semer Upishtin, but all that's regarding to the dinim of Kilayim. Says the Gemara, 1 second. So Rav Papa is using the drasha to come to include Kilayim. Says the Gemara, why do you need a drasha for that? Kilayim, behedya ksivabu, it's explicit. Lo yisel b'shani Semer Upishtin yachtov. Says the Gemara, you know why? If the Torah only said Lo yisel b'sh Kilayim, that would only be derech levisha if you're actually wearing it silbash lekalayim. However, aval beha Allah. What if it's a blanket? You cover yourself with kalayim. So you would think kol trei mini aser, that any two types of garments, not just semer upishtan, not just regular kalayim. You would think anything. Therefore, that's the reason why we need to know that only applies to Tzemer Upishtin. Ask the Gemara of a Lav Kal V'chaimer. Is it not a Kal V'chaimer? Could we not say as follows, and with this we conclude? Uma levisha dekamis hani kuli gufik b'kalayim amrit. We're only part of your body is covered. Meaning, what would be the havamina that ha'Allah? They're putting on a blanket is more chamer. Elo Rav Papa Badusi says, you're right. Rav Papa is a mistake. Something used to do lashon of barusi. It's an outside opinion. We'll stop from here. Pick it up from Nachal Bar Yitzchak B'siyata Dishmaya.